We continue with these practical Christian lessons, so to speak. And one of those perhaps vital things is that people have lost the art of dating. And here in this short study, we will just be reminded of what are the do's and don'ts of dating for girls. Basically, we'll have about 16 do's and we'll have about 16 don'ts for girls, and in the next study we will also go through the do's and don'ts of dating for men. Then later we will continue and proceed, and we will be having a study on emotional maturity and so on. So I hope that you find all these things very useful and beneficial, so that we can rely on the traditional understanding on the Church of God, and that we can also have this precious information within the continued Church of God, and also it might serve even the Church of God community in the widest sense. So the do's, what are the do's, the 16 do's of dating for girls? Do number 1 is, when asked for a date, be responsive and respectful. Well, this doesn't necessarily mean that you have to accept the date. It does mean that you be sensitive to the fellow's feelings and the way you come across. The male ego is a fragile thing, as I'm sure you ladies know, so try to be gentle, courteous, and polite. You destroy something of your own dignity and self-esteem by acting disinterested and cold, especially on the telephone, whether you accept the date or not. Always try to reflect feminine kindness and diplomacy. Incidentally, men do talk. And if your general approach is unduly curt and cutting, the word gets around, and don't be surprised if the guys start snubbing you. But the second do's is, watch your appearance and dress for the occasion. Because your outward appearance says an awful lot. It is a reflection of your background and training, but more importantly, of what you think of yourself. It is also a reflection of how you view the fellow. At least he looks at it this way. If you're not, concerned about your appearance, he takes it to mean that you're not concerned about him either. Intelligent and cultured men detest, wrinkled clothing, unmatched outfits that are hurriedly put together, oversized shirts, cloth hopper sandals unless you're going to the beach, etc. And also give special attention to your hair. For some reason, men do love women's hair, even on hikes, picnics, and mountain trips. Take care of it as much as possible. Be balanced with this, however. Don't just go over the board. If the fellow doesn't make clear the type of date he's taking you on, just ask to find out and dress appropriately. The third do is radiate friendliness, enthusiasm, and zest for life. A man finds it difficult and exasperating to date a girl who is non-communicative, lifeless, and limp. He doesn't enjoy the type who responds with nothing more than yeah or whew to a question. The kind who is slow-moving, droopy-eyed, and drags herself around like a tortoise. He likes, any man of course likes for her to bubble with excitement and to enjoy life. He likes to see her beam with smiles, happiness, and good cheer. And he's looking for a girl who is outwardly positive, who radiates a warmth, glow, and vibrancy that you can feel. Now, no one expects every minute, of course, to be euphoric, but liveliness, friendship, and enthusiasm should be the underlying tone of your personality. So speaking of that, of course, now we are going to the fourth do, is concentrate on giving your date a good time. So let him lead in the conversation and respond to the things he likes to talk about. In the more vigorous activities, be fun-loving and spirited. Join in with him and try to enjoy the things he does, even if you aren't very proficient at them. In group situations where several are present, defer to him. Don't flirt with other guys or divert your attention elsewhere. You can always learn something new from anybody, so observe and listen. Think of your date as being a unique, interesting, and important person that at the moment he really is. The fifth do is contribute to the conversation and try to go deeper than just the trivial things of life. Now, we all know that ladies do enjoy the trivial things of life, but, this is one of the biggest criticisms that men have made. It is girls tend to be shallow and airheaded when deeper subjects are introduced. Now, of course, we know that female minds are generally on everyday trivia, dates, problems, latest fashions, parties, aches, pains, problems back home, etc. So trivia is indeed important and plays a role in dating, for this is what everyday life is made of and constitutes a necessary part of human interchange. But you should Broaden your scope of interests and become knowledgeable on a wide range of subjects, including geography, politics, world news, etc. Talk about your background, your goals, desires, likes and dislikes. Let others get to know you and see inside you as a person. For sure, discuss the Bible, sermon, classes if you're at the college. Show a mature interest in the spiritual things of God. Learn to be perceptive and discriminating. Explain your views to your date and solicit his honest feedback. Intelligent and hearty conversation is essential if you're to grow and mature as a woman and build meaningful friendships. The sixth do in dating for ladies is do little things for the guy to let him know you care. Now, you ladies are, of course, experts at that. So, for example, these can be simple acts of courtesy, such as unlocking his side of the car once you're seated, baking his special kind of dessert if you're going on a picnic, fixing your hair a way that he especially likes, or playing a particular type of game, cards, dominoes, checkers, chess, he may suggest. The big things are important, but brethren, it is these smaller, private, tailor-made gestures that really make the difference. They tell the man that you are a well-bred, empathetic, and deeply thoughtful person. The seventh do is show an interest in the fellow's life. When dating a guy, watch for clues that will indicate what he values and considers important. Draw him out by asking his opinions and viewpoints on particular questions or social issues of the day. Encourage him to talk about himself, his hobbies, his background, his family, his hopes, his dreams, career, and plans for the future. And if you can do so honestly, let him know you value his judgment and that you find his insight helpful and scintillating. The eighth do is try to make him feel confident and comfortable and to increase his feelings of self-worth. Now, this requires that you be warm and open and reflect a mature understanding of men's sensitivities. So exercise care by not putting him down or making him feel uptight and defensive. Regardless of whom you are dating, always try to show respect, because remember that God says in 1 Peter chapter 2 verse 17, honor all men. Treat him as a fellow human, being made in God's image and a potential son of God. Men generally will rise to new heights or dignity and confidence when you increase their feelings of self-esteem. The ninth do is learn to adapt to new experiences and try out new activities he may suggest. Now, men like girls who are willing to respond to new challenges and opportunities. And we're talking, of course, about on the spur of the moment, out of the blue type of things. This might include such suggestions as a game of volleyball on the beach, a game of checkers, a new card game he learned, a race to a specific point and back, with him giving you a head start, of course, a helicopter ride, for example, etc. So long as, of course, his ventures are appropriate and harmless, make a sincere effort to enjoy them. Learn to be flexible and fit in with his plans. Do number 10. Always be sweet-natured and positive no matter what the circumstance. Don't allow the pressures and problems of life to overwhelm you. Don't magnify trifles and get bent out of shape. Now, instead of heartaches and trials, bounce back and keep your emotions in check. Maintain a cheerful, optimistic outlook. Try to smooth out the rough edges and accept defeat with a smile. People will love you a great deal more when you are calm, collected, and don't react. Always be mentally prepared to handle the unexpected when disaster strikes. In any dating situation, do number 11, show kindness and compassion to other people. Now, most men will think you're unusually special when they see your love and concern for others. True feminine kindness is one of the most desirable qualities you could hope to attain. It says practically everything. If you want to add several inches to your stature as a woman, incorporate this godly virtue. Get involved with people and make an effort to serve, visiting the sick, spending time with the elderly, encouraging a friend, etc. Do number 12. Develop a beautiful, genuine, sincere personality. Enough can hardly be said about this phase of personal development. It's a high and lofty hallmark that sets you apart. Have conviction in your standards, strongly live up to them. Physical beauty, of course, means less and less to a man once your inner charm and character start to emerge. It is not always the physical that attracts the guy, by the way. It's your inner self-poise, graciousness, tender emotions, spontaneity, and the outward radiance of your personal qualities. Do number 13. Please suggest what you would like to do if asked. Some guys may just run out of ideas and would like a suggestion from you. If you sincerely have a preference, enthusiastically say so. Normally, this should not be expected. After all, he's supposed to be in charge. But on occasion, you can help him out by giving your input. Do number 14. Suggest going Dutch. Going Dutch from time to time. If you don't know what is Dutch, we call them the stingiest nation in Europe. So, suggesting going Dutch, this Dutch at the quotation mark, from time to time, or at least offer to help with some of the expenses. Because, most young guys are broke like you are and don't have a lot of extra money to spend. And every so often you might suggest paying your own way to the movies, picking up the bowling tab, or chipping in to help buy food. Now, this is not the normal custom indeed, but it is perfectly legal, so to speak, and acceptable. Do number 15. Be deeply dedicated to God and the church without appearing gushy. Because we call this attitude a spiritual mentality. It's an aura, an underlying love that men admire. They're impressed when you show an interest in the things of God. Little else needs to be said when your example is telling the story. Such demeanor can come only from prayer, of course, Bible study, and walking daily with God. Do number 16. Show appreciation for the date. Because, it is customary and proper at the conclusion of the day to express your thanks and let the guy know you had a nice time. You can also send a thank you note for a very special occasion, particularly if he has bought you a flower and taken you to a fancy restaurant. Remember that some guys go all out to give you a good time, in some cases spending more money than budgets allow. Also, your personal acknowledgement and appreciation goes a long way in building your esteem in his eyes and makes him think you are a discerning and grateful person. Now, those were the 6 do's. How about the 16, not 616 that is, how about 16 don'ts? Well, ladies, with 16 don'ts, the first one is don't keep your date waiting, try to be on time. Now, that's one of the greatest challenges, at least for the Serbian ladies. Now, this applies as much to group dating as to personal dates, So often several people are made to wait. Why? Because 1 or 2 stragglers show up late. To detain your dates as a frequent practice, it says that you are not in control of your life and also implies that you don't have much regard for the fellow. A lack of punctuality is a source of irritation to most men and may hurt your chances of building a meaningful relationship later in life. Think long range about the repercussions your present actions can bring. Second don'ts. If you can't accept a date, be careful not to leave him bruised and wounded. Because for many guys, it's hard enough to ask for a date in the first place. To be rejected coldly and rudely without good cause can deal a crushing blow to his ego. He may feel humiliated, rejected, and that's, he's an abysmal failure. If you can give a logical reason, your refusal will be much easier to accept. You might say, I already have other plans, but could we make it some other time? Or I really must study for a test or do a team paper tonight, but I'll be free later this week, or I'll be free next week. So your thoughtfulness will soothe his feelings and open the way for a continuing friendship. Don'ts number 3. On the other hand, don't accept a date just because you're afraid of hurting his feelings. Perhaps the guy is coming on too strong. He's assuming too much and taking you for granted. Yes, it might happen. Perhaps he's socially clumsy and unskilled. He's, starting to get possessive and wants you to get serious with him right now. Maybe he's misreading your intentions too early in the game. So it's better to be forthright and tell him how you feel. Honesty is the best policy, but be tactful. Of course, generally speaking, most men want the truth and would prefer to know where they stand, even though it may deeply hurt at the time. Future dates would be uncomfortable for both if you were tense and unhappy and really didn't want to go out with him. Don'ts number 4. Please don't criticize the guy in front of your friends just because he doesn't measure up. Because you may do irreparable damage to his reputation, or at least create a bad impression of him. Now, this thoughtless cruelty will drive girls away and make it harder for him to get dates if you have labeled him as Mr. Oddball or Mr. Creep. Maybe your opinions are partially justified, but let others judge for themselves. Suppose he's just terribly shy and self-conscious. Wouldn't it be better to overlook his idiosyncrasies and try to encourage him as a friend? The Bible pronounces a dire warning against offending a little one. It even states that one who is guilty is in danger of the judgment. It's written in Matthew 5, and I often refer all of us to that scripture, Matthew 5, verse 21 and 22. Number 5, don't. Don't be too aggressive and flirtatious or try to ensnare him by your coquettish charms. To be perfectly honest, most men don't like flirts. You may momentarily capture his attention and cause his blood pressure to rise, but in the end, he'll question your integrity and cast you aside. A certain amount of aggressive behavior is purely natural and to be expected in normal dating relationships, such as, teasing, joking, and frolicking around in a spirit of clean fun and enjoyment. We are referring, of course, to the type of girls on ego trips who try to tantalize, mesmerize, hypnotize, and subdue every guy in town. Number 6, don't assume that every guy is the same and that all are to be treated alike. Ladies, every fellow is unique and has his own individual tastes and standards. Some like sports and outdoor life, while other, less active types, they enjoy reading, writing poetry, and listening to music. Learn to figure out each one and try to adapt to his particular personality. Look on every date as a unique challenge and learning opportunity that will enrich and round out your total life. Number 7, watch the tendency to compete and make him look inferior. Because hearty interchange of opinions can make a scintillating discussion indeed, but when you try to make yourself look good and put him down, you render a great disservice to yourself. Men resent a belligerent, arrogant, competitive spirit in a woman and will in due time lose respect for her. The Bible condemns this type of behavior and labels her as an odious woman. Bruising a man's ego is the greatest blunder you can make in dating. Number 8 is don't whine and complain or act spoiled and immature. Oh, how apt in this age and time, because whiners and complainers are a bore to be around and can spoil an otherwise beautiful evening. Such girls are totally self-centered and seem to care less how others may feel. They complain about the weather, about their job, about their parents, about their teachers and their grades, about living conditions, about any and everything. Look for the good. That's what the Bible says, the lovely and the pure in all your experiences and associations. Check up to see if you are infected with complaintitis. You'll never be popular and have many friends until this attitude is changed. Don't lead a guy on unless you're really interested in him or ready to get involved. Some girls manipulate men like puppets on a string, and some naive men allow themselves to become entangled in their web, usually ending up deeply seared and scarred. These girls like to have a reserve to fall back on in case their other relationships don't work out. Plus, they like the attention of men. It is deceitful, cruel, and fiendish to lead a guy on when you have no intention of getting serious. Don't discuss other guys or past dates, because this is an unpardonable sin, so to speak, in dating. Such behavior evidences a gross lack of wisdom, discretion, and maturity. Few things will turn a guy off faster than to be compared to other men or to share the spotlight with them. Your first duty is to give your date a good time and make him feel appreciated and important. 11, don't be flamboyant, loud-mouthed, and boisterous, forever calling attention to yourself. Even the dogs would tuck their tails and run if they beheld this type of behavior. It's crass, it's vulgar, it's totally unbecoming of a lady. Such a person would probably do well behind home plate as an umpire, but would usually strike out and rarely get a hit if she should play the game. Don't make yourself the center of the conversation. Now, this weakness indicates a lack of confidence and low self-esteem. It's an effort to prove that I'm somebody just in case you didn't know it. Now, this problem can be resolved by filling your mind with knowledge outside the tiny little bubble that surrounds your life. Project your thoughts and comments upward to higher ideals and to the good you see in others. Monitor your words. You may be shocked at how often you refer to yourself. Heavy doses of self-praise are an ongoing diary of your life, or an ongoing diary of your life can, of course, become a drag. Don't act as though you're totally independent and don't need the help of your male counterpart, because this is not according to nature. At heart, men want to be your protector and defender. They want to be sweet and do tender things for you. Not all men, of course, I understand, but I mean, generally speaking, those who are converted men, those who are, God-fearing men, such as, opening doors, picking up books you may have dropped, playing their role as a masculine leader. So by acting cool and ungrateful toward their gestures, you rob them of a satisfaction that God meant for them to experience and enjoy. Don't turn a guy down at a dance just because you don't like his looks or he is a notch below your social standards. This is devastating to a man, and especially so if he is a church member in good standing. Such prejudice and favoritism should never exist among God's people. If you have a legitimate reason for not dancing and must decline his request, remember his feelings and be considerate. Don't cancel a date at the last minute unless it is absolutely unavoidable. If you must do so because of circumstances outside your control, apologize and give an explanation. Don't set him up with someone else. And final don't, number 16, don't try to break up somebody else's romance out of spite, envy, and jealousy. It is sinister and evil to destroy another girl's relationship just because you can't have the guy she likes. Taking vengeance by spreading rumors or fabricating stories to break them up does greater harm to you. You destroy something of yourself. If you resort to fraud or trickery to win a guy over, you are headed for disaster. If it's a matter of you being hurt, forgive and forget and bury the past. I know it's easier said than done, but that's what the Bible says that we should do. Continue to make yourself look beautiful by upgrading the inner qualities of your life. And rest assured, if you have laid the right foundation and are properly playing the role God intended, you'll have no trouble getting dates and eventually attracting the right man. Well, that was about the ladies. How about the men? We have wonderful, perfect time, and thankfully I'm not too long in my discussions. So yes, we can now cover the do's and don'ts of dating for men. So we want to leave it for the next one. We'll just cover it now, and next time we'll be talking about emotional maturity. So do's for the men. Just like what we had 60 do's in dating, dating for girls. We will have about 16 do's and about 16 don'ts for men. In fact, we'll just have one less, because they're a bit sometimes less complicated creatures, I guess. So we'll have just one less item. But anyway, here are the 15 do's. Do number 1. Men, come to understand why dating is important and what its purpose really is. Now, purposes and reasons. To have fun and enjoyment, to develop a well-rounded personality, to expand socially and culturally, to broaden your education, to develop the art of conversation, which many men sadly lack, to overcome self-centeredness, to experience a wide range of personalities, to build confidence, to prepare for courtship and marriage. Now, mark what I said, to prepare for courtship and marriage, meaning not every date is a potential mate. Now, learn to view casual dating, as opposed to serious dating, as an opportunity to accomplish 2 grand goals. First, to develop into a colorful and dynamic personality, and second, to be a source of genuine encouragement and inspiration to others. Unless we get the overview in mind, there is always a tendency to date for entirely the wrong reasons. First and foremost, which is the case for many men in the world, to get married. Now, obviously, marriage plays a vital role in dating, yes, no doubt, but more importantly is laying a stable, strong and mature foundation before contemplating matrimony. Do number 2. If the girls in plural, or one singular keeps, but if the girls keep turning you down, face the facts honestly and seek help. Now, you may be trying to do everything right and consider yourself a fairly nice guy, Yes, the girls keep making excuses and seem disinterested in you as a person. If such be true, there may be something abrasive in your personality that is turning them off. To nail down your problem, you need the guidance and professional help of a skilled counselor. Don't go to friends and acquaintances who will sympathize with you. Honestly seek the truth, however painful the answer may be. Again, easier said than done. Don't argue, justify, or make excuses. Face reality and go to work. Your problems will always haunt you until you make the change. Do number 3, learn how to properly ask for a date. Don't approach a girl with, "What are you doing Saturday night?" Statements like this are an intrusion of privacy and reveal a lack of experience and good breeding, or good upbringing if you wish. State what you would like to do and ask the girl if she would be free to join you, that you would enjoy her company. Give an idea of what's appropriate to wear, what time to be ready, etc. Many times a girl has to ask for this information, and it shouldn't be so. It all comes down to having a mature handle on the situation. If for perfectly good reasons the girl cannot accept the date, don't take it personally and become offended. Watch your appearance. Look neat, trim, and sharp. The attention you give to this aspect of life says a great deal about your character. Conversely, sloppy dress and careless hygiene indicate gross indifference and lack of respect both to yourself and others. Examples: soiled and wrinkled clothing, unpolished shoes and white socks, high water trousers and ill-fitting clothes, untrimmed facial hair, bad breath, dandruff, and dirty fingernails. You can enhance your image in any girl's eyes if you give more time and attention to your appearance. Do number 5, expect to have a good time, and your dates will usually be a success. Now, have a positive attitude when you call up a girl. In other words, don't call expecting her to turn you down. Express excitement and enthusiasm for the date itself and toward the girl you're asking. Stay in a positive, happy attitude, even when unexpected circumstances interfere. Inject humor. Learn to laugh at yourself. Concentrate on giving your date a good time by being solicitous of her comfort, happiness, and welfare. Be creative and use your imagination in coming up with new ideas before you even ask for a date. Do number 6, learn how to carry on an interesting and intelligent conversation. Now, to do this, of course, you must be informed. You must know what's happening in the world. You must read widely and have special areas of interest, such as in hobbies, music, art, sports, etc., etc. I would probably add gardening to that one as well, because girls seem to like that special area. Now, to break the ice, you can always start with trivia, of course. Trivia, a recent movie you've seen, something special about last week's party, an interesting experience you've had, perhaps class lectures if you're attending a college, or, any lecture or Bible study. As the day progresses, move into heavier topics. Heavier topics will be her interests, what she plans to do with her life, travel experiences, observations and recent lessons learned, your career and interesting things about your job, world news, the Bible, sermons, a book you're reading, etc. And you will want to break up the pattern, but don't allow the date to degenerate into useless chatter and shallow thinking. Keep the conversation moving by asking for her opinions and comments on different subjects. Really listen and pay respect while she is talking. Do number 7, learn to be composed, confident, and self-assured in any type of social situation. Now, this has to do with developing poise and finesse in blending in with people regardless of their station in life. It's having the ability to relax others, drawing them out and making them feel at ease. It means being responsive and making people feel important and appreciated. It further means just being yourself, natural, spontaneous, lively, and uninhibited. Now, this requires, of course, patience, courage, and a determined attitude, but the fruits of your efforts will pay right dividends in gaining friends and being popular. Now, most girls are very understanding and will overlook an innocent fox pass, but they find it difficult to admire the guy who is coerced and socially awkward if he shows no signs of wanting to improve. Do number 8, show that you are stable and in control of your life. Now, this covers a wide gamut of characteristics. Having a steady job and positive goals you're working toward, self-discipline over your mind, body, and appetites, not by being naive and gullible, but thinking for yourself, working to improve your life and growing in overall balance and confidence, consistently sticking with your goals until you see them through. And when you grow in this kind of stature, you win the hearts and admiration of all. Do number 9 is be spiritually strong and conscientious without appearing gushy. If you're not a strong spiritual leader and show little interest in the things of God, the deeply converted girls feel insecure with you. Oh, this is not to say that you must always be talking religion, of course, and lecturing to the girls, nor should you force your views about the Bible on them, but there should be a strong undercurrent of loyalty to God and the church running through the whole of your life. If you're God-fearing, it's going to shine through as much in what you do as in what you say. So maintain high standards of conduct, but avoid the appearance of being holier than thou. When you are growing, you will inspire the girls you date to grow too. That's just very natural. Do number 10, treat the girl as someone special and be concerned about her feelings. So be genuinely courteous and do little things to let her know you care. Pamper her in a mature way, of course, as someone who needs protection. Examples: opening doors, bringing her a flower, being thoughtful of her physical comforts, such as giving her your coat if she's shivering, closing a car window if it's blowing her hair, removing her coat at a dance or party, bringing her refreshments so she doesn't have to stand in line, seeing that she gets into her dorm or apartment safely. Forget yourself. Think in terms of giving her pleasure and happiness, being truly thoughtful of her feelings, respect her views and values, her intelligence and natural abilities. Focus your attention on pleasing her as a Christian without getting mushy. So treat her as a queen and she'll treat you as a king. Notice and compliment the girl on such things as her hairstyle, new dress, and appearance overall, and she'll consider you a very discriminating person. Now, do number 11, very important. Learn to lead, not dominate. Now, a girl admires the guy who takes control when necessary, that is, reacting to problems maturely, making right decisions, and taking charge of situations with confidence. And this kind of leadership imparts to her a feeling of security and deep sense of respect for the man. To re-emphasize a point, proper dating is done with gentleness. He generally lays out plans ahead of time with her interests in view, but gets her input if changes need to be made. And you'll always receive high ratings in a girl's mind when you radiate confidence and the ability to lead. Do number 12, some dates can be spur of the moment. And indeed enjoy them. Spur of the moment, like a quick cup of coffee, a brisk walk around the block, a bicycle ride. Many girls enjoy simple companionship and a break in routine. These dates cost you very little, if anything, and can be a most stimulating and healthy way to enjoy a few moments with another. Every date doesn't have to be a big formal splash to give happiness, as sadly many guys think it should or it has to be. Do number 13, realize that all girls are not alike in personality and temperament. So before typesetting a girl and allowing an opinion to form in your mind, spend time in getting to know her. Be flexible and learn to adjust to her likes, tastes, and differences. Create an atmosphere of warmth and encourage her to be herself. The more you date a wide range of personalities, the better your chances of choosing the right mate when you decide to get married. Do number 14, develop a Christian attitude of love and service. A guy will grow in popularity who is considerate, thoughtful, compassionate, and sensitive to the needs of others. This also has to do with showing concern toward the weak, poor, and elderly. It seems that most young men today are so preoccupied with themselves and their interests that they have lost sight of the value of service. The hue and cry of the day is, let the other guy do it. Now, being considerate of others also involves carrying your share of the financial load and reciprocating favors shown. For example, a girl invites you over for dinner. Well, out of courtesy, you may ask if you could bring a bottle of wine or some item of food to help share expenses. And one thing is the motto. This motto you need to inscribe deep into your subconscious. It is greatness is service. Do number 15. The last one is express gratitude. Of course, you can add some more, but these are the overall do's in dating for guys. Express gratitude and let your date know you enjoyed her company. You know, a follow-up phone call or a handwritten note after the date means an awful lot to a girl. It tells her that you are uniquely different and that you really care. Mention a few things that made the date enjoyable, as such a practice builds goodwill and enhances her feelings of self-esteem. Now, of course, we have 15 don'ts when it comes to dating for men. 15 don'ts as they, or if they, engage in dating. The first one is, in choosing dates, don't take the selfish approach, who can give me a good time? What girl is the most friendly and outgoing? The one I can relate to best. Who is best able to subdue my fears and make me feel relaxed and comfortable? Avoid the attitude of what is in for me, what can I get out of it, who can give me the greatest happiness and fun. Shift the emphasis away from self to an active concern for others. And think of dating as a growing experience to be shared with a wide range of personalities. Don't date a girl just for looks. Now, of course, in our day and age, when that is so prevalent, we as God's people have to resist that kind of tendency. Don't reject the so-called outcasts or the less desirables in preference to the glamorous girls with the prettiest faces and sexiest figures. To limit your dating to the knockout sex bombs may bolster your ego and arouse envy in the other guys indeed, but such a practice degrades your worth in God's eyes. Girls can generally sense when a fellow's motives are wrong. How? Well, by his stares and sensuous demeanor, by him taking her places to show her off, yet leaving her empty and unfulfilled, by pouting when she is not giving him 100% attention or responding to his crybaby whims. Some fellows have been heard to say, "I'll never date an ugly girl." Oh, really? Well, why? She's a human being made in God's image with feelings and sensitivities as any other person. Was Jesus Christ partial in his treatment of people, favoring only the elite? Of course not. Did you know there is not an ugly woman in God's eyes, in God's sight, unless she has made herself ugly through acquiring wrong attitudes and habits? And you are a greater gentleman in God's sight when you give yourself in equal time, attention, and consideration to all the girls with whom you have contact. Number 3, don't size up each girl as a potential wife. No self-respecting girl appreciates being looked over, studied, and analyzed as a future wife. In fact, this not only irritates her, she resents it deeply. Such scrutiny makes her feel like a horse, cow, or used car on display at a public auction. Symbolically, the prospective buyer with clipboard in hand goes down a list of good and bad qualities, checking off those he likes or doesn't like. A fellow whose wife shopping too early in the game betrays his motives by asking personal questions such as, at what age do you plan to get married? Do you intend to go to college and graduate? How many children would you like to have? What are you looking for in a husband? Is there a history of insanity in your family? Now, this thoughtless approach puts a strain on the girl, causing her to withdraw and play an unnatural role. Don't get serious after the first date or two, because this attitude, similar to the one we have already described, sizing up each girl as a potential wife, puts a girl on edge and makes her uptight and nervous. It may cause her to act cool and distant or scare her off completely. Intelligent and mature girls don't want to be rushed or pressured into a premature courtship. It isn't that, they've decided they don't like you. They simply need more time. And why do fellows get turned on so fast? Well, physical attraction and sex appeal, personality of girl, getting caught up in an aura of infatuation and romance, and yet he hasn't dated long enough to get to know her. Don't get too physical. Like sitting too close, holding a girl too tightly while dancing, putting arm around a girl at a movie or attempting to hold hands, getting carried away and attempting to indulge in heavy petting. Girls resent the idea of being pawed over and having to engage in a wrestling match to protect their morals. They want to be treated like ladies and will respect you a great deal more when you treat them with dignity and honor. Don't put on airs and try to be somebody else. Be yourself. Be warm, open, honest, and sincere. Trying to project an artificial image makes one phony, unnatural, and hard to get to know. Let your feelings, convictions, and opinions come out. Just be humble and discreet in the way you express them. Why do people put on airs? Well, they feel insecure about themselves, or they're afraid others will not like their personalities and accept them for what they are. Now, this exercise in play acting not only takes the fun out of dating, but creates barriers of mistrust and doubt. Number 7, quit trying so hard to make a date successful. One of the greatest pitfalls that men usually make. Don't become overly concerned about how things are going or whether you're making a good impression. Don't worry about every detail and doing everything right. Learn to relax, enjoy yourself, and give your date a good time. By getting so involved with the mechanics of the date, it's easy to forget that the girl is a person. Dating relationships should be easy, free, natural, and spontaneous. But when dating is taken too seriously, worrying over it and thinking it's not turning out right, you defeat its purpose altogether. Don't compete on a date by engaging in disputes and controversies. A friendly exchange of opinions can be healthy and stimulating, but you should never try to show the girl up and make her feel inferior. Don't overwhelm her with facts and knowledge and the brilliance of your mind. Avoid backing her into a corner by challenging her views and making her feel that her opinions don't count. Find out why she thinks as she does and welcome her points of view. You might just discover she is keenly perceptive and can offer intelligent answers to many of life's problems. Don't pry for information a girl considers private and confidential. For example, her personal IQ, her past romances and names of boyfriends, her sexual views like is she a virgin, personal hang-ups and family problems. Don't act mousy and hang on to a girl like she's your mama. There are few things that will turn off a girl quicker than for a male to be unsure of himself, fail to assert his leadership and take initiative, wait for her to make the next move and become overly dependent. She can overlook a lot of faults and be very understanding when the guy is trying, but this type of weakness is grossly repulsive. Show some spunk, leadership, and independence. Be a real man, not a quiet and timid mama's boy. Watch that you don't become possessive and attach yourself to her like a leech at social gatherings. Special note: don't make a nuisance of yourself at parties and dances by monopolizing her time, especially if she is not your date for that occasion. Don't talk about past dates. This may give the girl the feeling that she's not measuring up to your standards or pleasing you. Don't discuss other girls' weaknesses, faults, and idiosyncrasies. Don't give the impression you have an interest in certain girls and are considering their merits for marriage. Girls resent being compared to each other, just like guys do. Don't become critical and negative toward life. A guy who is negative, who whines and complains about his bad breaks and misfortunes is an obnoxious bore to be around. Moreover, a downcast, critical temperament makes you appear weak. Steer clear of personal gripes, problems, and hang-ups. At least wait until you get to know the girl as a friend. A guy who feels sorry for himself and is generally negative toward others and life overall can have little hope for building meaningful friendships until he truly sees himself. Don't lead a girl on and then drop her without warning. Now, this is one of the cruelest things you can do to the opposite sex, and yes, we see that very frequently in the world around us. Particularly if you have been dating regularly and have given the impression you're getting interested and serious. Doing this will be particularly cruel. A sudden change without explanation can utterly crush her heart, destroy her feelings of self-respect, and do irreparable damage in building other relationships. So don't allow yourself to get carried away and become that involved with any girl until you know you're basically right for each other. The main key always is to get to know each other inside and out, and to know that you are deeply in love before making any plans for marriage. And I cannot stress enough this point. The key is to get to know each other inside and out. And why so many marriages break apart in the world around us and even are struggling in the church? Well, because people get married for wrong reasons and they haven't got to know each other inside and out. Don't over-dominate and give the impression, I'm the big male leader. Guys, girls detest a guy who is overconfident, arrogant and cocky, who struts around like a proud peacock. They want to be led indeed, but not stomped or stampeded over. So once again, they want to be led but not stomped on or stampeded over. In this connection, don't treat a girl like one of the boys. Example, slapping her on the shoulder, saying in a raucous tone, come on down to the gym and watch me lift weights. Further, don't give the impression, I'm doing you a big favor by taking you out, so you had better appreciate me. Being masculine doesn't mean throwing your weight around and popping buttons. Learn the art of being gentle, and you will have discovered one of the greatest marks of Christian leadership. It takes strength and intelligence to be gentle indeed. And final don't wait until the last minute to ask for a date. Yes, we all know that ladies need some more time to get themselves ready for dates. Yes, so there might be, of course, exceptions. And perhaps, in those exceptions you can ask at the last minute. But normally, you can avoid this situation if you try. A girl doesn't like to be thought of as a nobody who has been passed over several times and she's all that is left. Consider the fact that it takes time for girls again to prepare for the more formal dates, like ironing clothes, fixing their hair, getting ready their nails, etc., etc. Let her know the type of date so she can dress appropriately, and be punctual. Don't keep her waiting.